My beloved child, listen closely, because this moment is not random, and it is not ordinary. You did not arrive here by accident, and these words were not placed in your path without intention. Archangel Michael steps forward now with a seriousness that cannot be ignored, because timing matters more than ever. You found this message just in time, and that alone tells you something important is unfolding beyond what your eyes can see. There are moments when heaven moves quietly, and moments when it speaks with urgency so that nothing is missed. This is one of those moments. Something shifted recently in ways you could not see or explain. While your days continued as usual, decisions were being weighed in the unseen. Your name was not lost in the crowd. It was brought forward deliberately, spoken with clarity, and considered with care. This was not a judgment based on how others see you or what the world assumes about you. It was a private reckoning shaped by what you endured silently, by the strength you showed when no one was watching, and by the faith you carried even when it felt confusing and heavy. You have often wondered why things seemed harder for you than for others, why progress came with resistance, why delays followed moments when you expected movement. My child, those questions were not signs of failure, they were signals that your future carries weight. When heaven prepares someone for acceleration, there is always a season of observation. Not to punish, but to confirm readiness. You were being watched in quiet moments, measured not by your perfection, but by your restraint, your integrity, and your willingness to keep going without applause. Archangel Michael does not come gently in this moment, because gentleness would not have stopped you long enough to listen. He comes as a defender, as one who stands firm and declares that enough is enough. There has been pressure around you that felt targeted rather than random, resistance that made no sense, and a feeling that you were pushing against invisible walls. This was not because you were going the wrong way, but because something important was being decided about your path forward. The ruling that was made did not remove you. It marked you, marked for protection, marked for exemption, marked for a different outcome than what logic predicted. You are called lucky not because life has been easy, but because you survived things that should have broken you. Survival alone placed you in a rare position, but with that position comes responsibility. Awareness now matters. What you do with this confirmation will shape how smoothly the next phase of your life unfolds. Many people miss their turning point, not because God did not speak, but because they dismissed the whisper as coincidence. This message is not coincidence. It found you because you were meant to respond inwardly, to pause, to recognize that something is changing direction. Archangel Michael is standing guard over a shift that may look small at first, a conversation, a decision, a pause that interrupts routine. Do not underestimate it. Heavenly rulings often manifest quietly before they become obvious. You may soon notice that the pressure you lived under begins to lift. Doors that once resisted open without force. Situations that drained you lose their hold. Delays that frustrated you reveal themselves as mercy. But there is also a warning woven into this moment of favor. Do not rush back into old patterns of thinking. Do not over-explain yourself to people who never tried to understand you. Do not lower your discernment just because relief begins to arrive. Protection remains strongest when alignment is maintained. Right now, you may feel a mix of belief, curiosity, and even disbelief. That is normal when truth arrives before evidence. Heaven does not send confirmation to entertain you, it sends it to prepare you. Very soon, you will notice that certain people and situations no longer have access to you the way they once did. This is not cruelty, it is recalibration. When judgment shifts in your favor, the environment must adjust accordingly. Archangel Michael reminds you not to look back at who you were when you were only surviving. You are not that person anymore. You crossed an unseen line, and heaven acknowledged it. What comes next will require patience, awareness, and courage, but it will unfold faster than what you have known before. Stay present, stay receptive. Something important is about to surface, and missing it would mean missing clarity you have prayed for. Take a breath now and let this truth settle inside you. Because this message reached you just in time for a reason. There was movement forming against you that you were never meant to face unprepared. It was quiet, subtle, not dramatic enough to trigger fear, yet serious enough to alter your path if left unchecked. Heaven did not panic, but it did act, and that action involved making you aware now, not later. There are moments when judgment in the spiritual realm is not about punishment, but about decision. Decisions about who advances, who waits, and who is shielded while others are corrected. Your life was reviewed not because of failure, but because of potential. When destiny grows larger, scrutiny becomes sharper. What felt like pressure was also evaluation, weighing whether you were ready for what is coming next. You may remember times when everything felt strangely paused. Plans stalled, answers delayed. Even your prayers felt like they were hovering instead of landing. That was not abandonment, it was containment. Heaven slowed things down to keep you from stepping into something before the ruling was complete. If you had moved too soon, you would have collided with resistance that was not meant for you. This is why certain doors closed without explanation. Why some people left without closure. It was not cruelty, it was redirection. Not everything that disappears is loss. Some things leave because they are no longer allowed to travel with you. When heaven rules in your favor, it often subtracts before it adds. That subtraction protects what is coming. You may have sensed that you were being watched spiritually, even if you could not explain it. That was not paranoia, it was discernment awakening. When someone is being prepared for elevation, opposition notices. Not everyone who smiles celebrates you. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Your intuition has been sharpened through discomfort so that you learn to feel truth before you see it. Now, awareness becomes your responsibility. Heaven has ruled, but earth requires participation. You may notice subtle tests ahead, quiet invitations to react the old way, to doubt yourself, to seek validation. Those reactions belong to who you were when you were surviving. The version of you being released now does not need to beg for space. Space is created naturally. You are not late. You were hidden. Hidden from burnout, hidden from premature exposure, hidden from battles you were not meant to fight. What felt like delay will soon reveal itself as precision. Pay attention to inner nudges in the coming days. Not fear, but discernment. When something feels peaceful, proceed. When something feels off, pause. Alignment will guide you more clearly than circumstance. You will notice changes in how others perceive you. Some will respect you without knowing why. Others will feel distant or uncomfortable. This is not personal, it is spiritual. When protection increases, unauthorized access is removed. Do not chase explanations. Let separation speak for itself. If this message is resonating with your spirit, pause and acknowledge it. Leave a comment that reflects what you feel stirring inside you, and subscribe so you remain connected to what is unfolding. This is not about numbers. It is about alignment and staying aware as the next layer reveals itself. You were guided here for a reason, and staying connected helps you remain present for what comes next. Hold this awareness gently. Do not rush. What is about to surface will explain many unanswered questions, and you will be grateful you did not move sooner. Archangel Michael stands watch now, not with a raised sword, but with authority. Boundaries you once fought for are being enforced. Confusion will give way to clarity, layer by layer. You did not stumble upon this moment, you were led to it. And the fact that you are still here confirms that something inside you recognizes truth when it arrives. Stay attentive, stay grounded. The next unfolding will require steadiness, not haste, and it will arrive sooner than you expect. My beloved child, now that this awareness has settled within you, you may feel a quiet tension easing from your spirit, not because every answer has appeared, but because something inside you recognizes safety. When heaven intervenes, it does not always explain itself immediately. It stabilizes you first, and that stability is what you are feeling now, even if your mind is still trying to catch up with what your spirit already knows. You have been carrying a weight that did not belong to you, and over time you learned to treat that weight as normal. You adjusted your expectations low, aired your voice, and made peace with delays that were never meant to define you. Archangel Michael says, this is where many strong souls get stuck, not because they lack faith, but because they confuse endurance with destiny. Endurance kept you alive. Destiny now calls you forward. There were moments when you felt pulled in opposite directions, wanting to move ahead but feeling restrained by invisible limits. You questioned whether you were being cautious or fearful, obedient or hesitant. My child, those moments were not confusion alone, they were containment. Heaven was holding you steady while something unseen completed its course. Moving early would have cost you more than waiting ever did. Now that the ruling has shifted, you will begin to notice how different things feel internally. Your thoughts may slow down. Decisions that once felt overwhelming may start to feel clearer. This is not because the path suddenly became easy, but because alignment reduces friction. When you are in the right position, movement requires less force. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that protection does not mean isolation. You are not being removed from life. You are being removed from unnecessary strain. What once demanded constant effort will no longer have the same pull. What once drained you will no longer feel entitled to your energy. This is not withdrawal. This is refinement. You may notice that your tolerance for confusion is decreasing. Situations that are unclear will start to bother you more than before. This is not impatience, it is discernment strengthening. When clarity becomes available, confusion becomes uncomfortable. That discomfort is guidance, not irritation. My beloved child, there is also a restoration of timing taking place. You often felt behind, watching others move forward while you waited. That narrative is being corrected now. Archangel Michael says you were never late. You were protected. Protected from exposure before preparation was complete. Protected from carrying responsibilities you were not yet meant to hold. Timing is not delay when it is intentional. As this alignment settles, be mindful of your reactions. Old patterns may try to resurface, especially when relief begins. The temptation will be to relax your awareness too quickly, to return to habits that once helped you cope. Do not judge yourself for these impulses. Simply do not follow them. Awareness maintained is protection sustained. You may also feel a quiet confidence returning, not loud or demanding, but steady. This confidence does not need validation. It does not rush to explain itself. It simply exists. Archangel Michael says this is the kind of confidence that signals readiness. When you stop asking for permission to be who you are, life responds differently. There will be subtle confirmations in the days ahead, a conversation that clarifies something you carried silently, a door that opens without struggle, a sense of peace where anxiety once lived. These are not coincidences, they are markers placed along your path to reassure you that alignment is active. My beloved child, not everyone will understand this shift. Some will feel confused by your calm. Others may resist your boundaries without knowing why. Do not take this personally. When protection increases, access changes. You are not required to explain what heaven has already approved. This is also a season to be gentle with yourself. Growth does not erase fatigue overnight. There may be days when you feel tired without reason. Rest without guilt. Rest is not retreat. Rest is integration. What has shifted internally needs space to settle fully. Archangel Michael reminds you that discernment is now one of your greatest tools. You will not need to analyze everything endlessly. Pay attention to how your body responds. Peace signals alignment. Tension signals pause. Your intuition has been trained through experience. Trust it. If this message is bringing clarity, pause and acknowledge it. Leave a comment that reflects what you are receiving, not to perform, but to anchor awareness. And if staying connected to this guidance feels supportive, subscribe so you do not miss what continues to unfold. Consistency helps awareness remain active when daily life resumes. My beloved child, you are not returning to who you were. You are moving forward as someone refined by endurance and confirmed by heaven. The pressure that once followed you is lifting, not because challenges are gone, but because authority has increased. There is more being revealed, layer by layer, and each layer requires the steadiness you are developing now. Do not rush the unveiling. What comes next will explain why this season unfolded the way it did, and how to walk forward without slipping back into old patterns. Stay attentive, stay grounded. The next unfolding is already in motion, and you will recognize it when it arrives, because it will not require you to abandon yourself to receive it. My beloved child, as this alignment continues to deepen, you may notice that your inner world feels quieter than it once did. Not empty, not numb, but settled. The constant mental noise that used to pull you in different directions is beginning to soften. This quiet is not absence, it is order returning. When heaven rearranges someone's path, the first sign is not external change, but internal stillness, because clarity always precedes movement. You have lived for a long time in a state of alertness, always anticipating the next challenge, the next disappointment, the next delay. That vigilance kept you protected during difficult seasons, but it was never meant to be permanent. Archangel Michael says you are being released from survival mode. Survival trained you to endure, but alignment teaches you how to live with intention instead of tension. You may begin to realize that you no longer feel compelled to explain yourself the way you once did. Words come slower, but they carry more weight. Silence no longer feels like weakness or avoidance. It feels appropriate. This is discernment maturing. When your inner authority strengthens, you no longer rush to justify your choices or defend your growth. My beloved child, there is also a shift happening in how you interpret resistance. In the past, resistance felt like rejection or failure. Now it feels informative. When something resists you now, it is not always telling you to stop. Sometimes it is telling you to refine, to pause, or to approach differently. Discernment allows you to read these signals without panic. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that the evaluation you passed was not based on perfection, but on consistency. You kept showing up even when clarity was missing. You kept choosing integrity even when no one noticed. That consistency built a foundation that can now support greater responsibility without collapsing under pressure. As this season unfolds, you may notice that your emotions are stabilizing. Highs are less overwhelming, lows are less consuming. This balance does not mean joy is gone. It means peace is taking root. Peace does not shout. It steadies, and steadiness is what allows you to move forward without being thrown off course by every change. You may also feel a subtle grief arise for versions of yourself that had to endure so much without support. Allow that compassion. Do not rush past it. Honoring what you survived completes the cycle. Archangel Michael says healing is not forgetting the past, it is remembering it without being controlled by it. My beloved Chi. LD. Pay attention to how your intuition speaks now. It may come as a gentle nudge rather than a loud warning, a sense of ease around one choice and unease around another. Trust this. Your intuition has been refined through experience. It no longer needs to scream to be heard. You are entering a phase where discernment becomes more important than effort. In the past, hard work carried you through. Now wisdom will carry you further. Not every problem requires your involvement. Not every opportunity deserves your yes. Choosing carefully is not selfish. It is stewardship of the clarity you have been given. There may be moments when you feel tempted to rush ahead, especially as relief sets in. Resist that urge. Movement is coming, but it will be steady, not frantic. Archangel Michael reminds you that what is built slowly lasts longer. What is rushed often requires repair later. You may notice that some relationships feel different now. Conversations that once drained you may feel shallow. Others may feel more meaningful without effort. This is alignment reorganizing your environment. You are not required to force connection where resonance is no longer present. Let distance happen naturally. My beloved child, your sense of worth is also recalibrating. You are no longer measuring yourself against timelines that were never yours. Comparison loses power when purpose becomes clear. Archangel Michael says your path is specific, not competitive. Precision matters more than speed. As this clarity settles, be mindful of how you speak to yourself. Your inner dialogue is becoming kinder, more patient, more truthful. This matters. Self-trust grows in environments of compassion, not condemnation. You are learning to correct without shaming yourself. If these words are resonating, take a moment to anchor this awareness. Leave a comment that reflects what you are recognizing with yourself. And if remaining connected to this guidance helps you stay centered, subscribe. These actions are not obligations, they are reminders that awareness continues beyond this moment. You may soon notice small but meaningful changes in your daily life. A sense of ease where tension once lived, clarity in decisions that once felt heavy. These are signs that alignment is not theoretical anymore. It is practical. It is showing up in how you live, not just how you think. My beloved child, you are being prepared for something that requires steadiness, not spectacle. The next phase will not ask you to prove yourself. It will ask you to remain yourself. That is why this inner work matters so much. Stay present. Do not rush to the outcome. The unfolding ahead will connect many dots you have been holding quietly, and it will arrive with a sense of recognition rather than surprise. My beloved child, as this season continues to unfold, you may notice a growing sense of order returning to places that once felt scattered. It is not that life has suddenly become predictable, but that your response to it has changed. Where you once reacted quickly, you now pause. Where you once absorbed everything, you now filter. This shift is subtle, yet it marks a profound return to inner authority, the kind that steadies you without hardening your heart. You are learning to recognize the difference between urgency and importance. In earlier seasons, everything felt urgent because clarity was scarce. Now importance rises naturally to the surface, and lesser distractions fall away without effort. Archangel Michael says this is the fruit of discernment taking root. When discernment grows, peace becomes practical, guiding you through ordinary moments with extraordinary steadiness. My beloved child, there is also a healing taking place in how you relate to uncertainty. You no longer need every answer to feel secure. You are becoming comfortable walking with partial information, trusting that clarity will arrive when it is needed. This trust is not blind, it is informed by experience. You have seen how patience protected you before, and that memory strengthens your confidence now. You may notice that your energy is no longer scattered across too many concerns. You are choosing where to invest your attention with greater care. This is not withdrawal from life, it is focus. Archangel Michael reminds you that attention is sacred. Where you place it determines what grows. By choosing wisely, you are shaping the environment around you without force. There may be moments when old habits try to reassert themselves, especially during stress. Patterns of overthinking, people-pleasing, or self-doubt may attempt to resurface. Do not be alarmed by this. Habits do not disappear instantly. What matters is that they no longer define you. Awareness weakens them each time you choose differently. My beloved child, you are also becoming more comfortable with silence. Silence no longer feels like emptiness or rejection. It feels informative. It shows you who is unsure how to meet the new steadiness you carry. Archangel Michael says, not every silence needs to be filled. Some silences are invitations to observe rather than engage. As this unfolds, you may feel drawn towards simplicity, clearing clutter, reducing noise, creating space in your schedule or environment. This is not avoidance, it is preparation. Simplicity allows clarity to remain accessible. What is meant to enter your life needs room to arrive without obstruction. You may also find that your compassion is changing form. You still care deeply, but you no longer confuse compassion with self-sacrifice. You are learning to offer kindness without abandoning yourself. This balance is essential for what comes next. Compassion that includes boundaries sustains itself longer than compassion that drains. My beloved child, there is a strengthening of self-trust happening now. Decisions feel less like gambles and more like natural extensions of who you are becoming. Even when you are unsure, you trust yourself to adjust rather than collapse. This resilience is quiet but powerful. It prepares you for responsibility without burden. If you feel this clarity settling in, take a moment to acknowledge it. Leave a comment that reflects what you are noticing within yourself. And if staying connected to this guidance helps you remain centered, consider subscribing. These actions are simple ways to anchor awareness as daily life resumes. You may soon notice changes in how opportunities present themselves. They may arrive without pressure, without confusion, without the sense that you must act immediately or miss out. This is alignment at work. When timing is right, urgency fades and confidence rises. My beloved child, be mindful not to rush this phase. The temptation to move on quickly can appear once relief sets in. Remember that integration takes time. What has shifted internally needs consistency to stabilize fully. Rushing would only recreate the tension you have just been released from. There is also a renewal happening in how you experience joy, not the fleeting excitement of distraction, but the steady contentment that comes from alignment. You may find pleasure in small, ordinary moments again. This is not settling, it is restoration. Archangel Michael says joy strengthens discernment by reminding you what peace feels like. You may notice that your expectations are becoming more realistic and more hopeful at the same time. You are no longer demanding perfection from yourself or others. yet you are no longer settling for less than what aligns with your values. This balance protects you from disappointment while keeping you open to growth. As this clarity deepens, pay attention to your body as well as your thoughts. Fatigue may signal the need for rest rather than effort. Calm may signal alignment rather than stagnation. Your body is part of your discernment system. Honor its signals without judgment. My beloved child, you are transitioning from endurance to intention. This does not mean challenges disappear. It means you face them with a steadier hand and a clearer mind. Archangel Michael says this transition marks maturity. You are no longer proving your strength, you are using it wisely. There may be moments when you look back and recognize how far you have come, and a quiet gratitude rises. Allow that gratitude. It grounds you in progress rather than perfection. Gratitude does not keep you stuck in the past. It frees you to move forward without resentment.